Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Thank you for. Hey, what's going on, Scatterbrains? Thank you for coming back to another episode of Brilliancy. My name is Travis, and you know why we're here. But before we get into why we're here, I have got to take the first few moments of this video to send a humongous thank you to one of my Scatterbrains, Alicia. I'm not going to say your last name. I have to say thank you so much, Alicia. So I don't know if it was Alicia, but someone had asked, is there a place that they could send gifts for the baby? So I have a P.O. box. So I was like, oh yeah, I can put my P.O. box in the description. So I did that. And then Alicia sent me a DM and said, hey, there's some stuff coming for the baby and your wife and your daughter. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really nice of her. And I'm not gonna go into what it was, but all I can say is, wow. When I got to the post office and they brought it all out, and then when I got home and opened it all up, we were just like, wow, that was really, really nice of her. So Alicia, thank you so much for the stuff that you sent for Carter and Carmen and Tegan. We appreciate it. I don't ever want anybody to think I need anybody to send anything or, but if you ever want to, the P.O. box is, I even feel weird saying it, but the P.O. box is in the description. But Alicia, I'm gonna figure out something I can do for you. I'm gonna have to figure out something to do in return, but we'll come to that later. So let's now move into Married at First Sight talk. So I think in maybe last week's video, somebody put in the comments a spoiler. So the only thing I'm gonna ask for y'all is that as you're commenting and you're talking about the season, maybe put like spoiler alert, before you talk about things that have happened in real time that had not happened on the show, because I know that there are some people who don't want things to be ruined. I'm not one of those people. So at this point, I now know of like 3 couples that apparently are divorced, but I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm only gonna talk about what's happened on the show. So, just keeping that in mind, if you want that information, is easily accessible as far as who's still together and who's not. But I'm going to talk about what actually happened last night. So right now we're about to review Married at First Sight season 10, episode 4. So in this episode, pretty much what this was it was the night of the wedding, the morning after, something they did differently. I believe they didn't do this last year, was every spouse met with the partner's family. And then we got like the very few beginning moments of the honeymoon. And we're just gonna go ahead and start off with the people who not much happened with. So we're gonna talk about Carrick. So, never mind. Side thought. So she acknowledges that there's a big bowl of multi-size condoms. The producers of the show are very inclusive. They say from the pinky to the baby arm, we got you. So you pick your fit and make it work. But as far as I can remember, I don't think any couple consummated their marriage on the wedding night. So that's just, I'm not going to keep saying that 4 more times. But as far as I can remember, I don't remember anyone saying that they would. And if any couple would have, I would have thought it would have been Carrick. But, they didn't. They said they did have a lot of heated moments, but they, stopped ahead of time. And not really much happened with them. So as far as the family meetups, he says to her family that he's never really been in love. And then he does a nice gesture and asks to speak to her dad outside of the rest of the family and asks for the dad's blessing of the marriage. And the dad gives it. So that helps him to feel like this process is a little more real, which, I guess that makes him seem a lot more genuine on camera. Because, there clearly are some guys on camera that are not as genuine as others. So for her, I didn't write anything about who when she talked to his family. So that means it must not have been anything interesting. One thing I did note was that when they got to their room at the honeymoon, they were like, ooh, there's a living room and a bedroom. I'm like, is that a thing? Like, people are excited about there being a living room and a bedroom. I'm used to having a living room and a bedroom in a hotel, but it's good to see that it's the little things that make Carrick happy, okay? All right, let's go on down to Jostin. Not much happened with them as well. He helps her get undressed. They're very attracted to each other. I mean, for them, it's just like awkward city. I almost want to call them like awkward Fina, and I can't think of a guy name to go with awkward. I have to think on that, but I just really want to call her awkward Fina because like watching it was just like so dorky. I mean, it's cool. It's not anything that stresses me out or is just irritating. It's just dorky, which I guess is good because clearly where this show is heading, we're gonna need some people to take the edge off. So that we might be looking to Justin and Carrick to do that for us. He didn't have, as most people didn't have any expectations about what was gonna happen on the first night. So as far as the family conversations, she asked his family, because it was his sister. No, her sister, her twin asked him, is he here just for the experiment or is he in for the long run? And he says he's in the long run. And his mom tells her that she was worried about her intention, but I think his mom is feeling a lot better, by the time it's all over. See, it's so many people and trying to say his and her and all that kind of stuff. It is what it is. All right, we're gonna move on to Brayler. Brandon did something that was pretty nice. He gave Taylor and her wig a gift. He gave her it was a little Tiffany's box because it was blue. And in the Tiffany's box were wig caps. No, it wasn't wig caps in the box. I'm sure she could have used them though. He gave her a Tiffany's box and in it was some kind of like engraved hairpin. I'm kidding. It was some kind of engraved necklace or something that said like Mrs. Reed. Cause I believe that's his last name is Reed. So it said Mrs. Reed and that was such a thoughtful thing. As with everybody else, there were no expectations, but Brandon said, I'm down for whatever. Like he swag surfed after he said he was down for whatever. So I'm old, I guess at this point. We about the same age, but I don't know what that means. Does that mean you ready to surf? Does that mean you ready to surfboard? I still don't know what Beyonce was talking about in that song. So whatever that, I'm ready for it. I mean, I'm ready for anything. Like, it's so corny. I don't know what that means. So for the majority of the first night, they just stayed up and talked. He played in her wig for a little bit. His fingers got tangled a couple of times, but he said it wasn't too bad. And the next morning when they talked to the family, she talks to his aunt and his mom. And she, is asking them questions like, what was Brandon like as a kid? And his mom was just like, so I don't know if that was editing or if that's just how it really was, but his mom was like completely stone-faced and she did not look like she was interested in Taylor and her wig. So then we have him talking to her cousin, mom, and aunt, and they're obviously grilling him because, Taylor and her wig is their precious child. And, they want to make sure that his intentions are good, which, I mean, anybody would. So I don't fault anybody for asking questions because I would hope that that's what you would actually do in real life. So the cousin pretty much seemed to be the spearhead of this conversation. So she asked him, why has he not been married? Why has he not been in a serious relationship? And is he going to be good to her and all that kind of stuff? And he gives the answer that they would think. One thing that Taylor and her wig pointed out to Brandon was that she hates to be disrespected. And I'm pretty sure we saw this because in the preview for next week, we see that things for them start to take a turn next. So they pack for Panama. I didn't say that that's where everybody's vacation is or honeymoon. Obviously the producers of the show figured they could save a lot of money if they send everybody at the same time to the same place. It just saves them money because, a few seasons ago, they would all go to different places for the honeymoon. But they were like, oh, no, we can get them discount on them group rates on these hotel rooms. So y'all all going to the same resort. Matter of fact, y'all all going on the same plane down. So they were all on the exact same plane. They all got there at the exact same time. I mean, they're cutting corners, but that's what happens when you have 15 people on the show. So she decides that she's going to pack her sexy panties for him. And, they awkward city 2.0 for me. Like watching Taylor and her wig and Brandon, AKA Joe Budden it's awkward. It's just real awkward. It just does not feel natural, but that was pretty much all that happened with them. All right, now let's move into the couples who things were not going as well. And we'll start off talking about Mindy and Zach, AKA Mitch. So Mindy's new name from here on out, it just probably is gonna be Teeth. So anytime you hear me say teeth, I'm talking about Mindy because I've seen all 32 of the teeth in her mouth because she's been smiling so hard, but she wasn't smiling at the end of this episode. So let's talk about it. And Zach's new name is probably gonna be Hair. I feel like with Zach, I feel like he, in his mind, he's living his life in slow motion. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it looks like this to him. Boom. I feel like in his mind, that's what we see, you know, and it's not what we see. You're not in slow motion, bro. You're not in slow motion. Okay, so they did not do anything last night, but clearly Teeth, you know, was ready to, but, you know, she's just so excited that she's waking up to this man who looks like he stepped straight out of a Giorgio Armani commercial. So, you know, Teeth is just ready to just, you know, let him see all her cavities. But, you know, it didn't happen. So the next morning, she talks to his family and she asked him, like, what's the best way to his heart? And they said he's looking for a deeper connection. I wrote down mentally challenged. Not that they said he was mentally challenged, but he wants to be mentally challenged. And he struggles with being vulnerable. I believe that's what they said. Now, on the flip side, he talked to her sister and her friend, and they probably were the most real out of everybody as far as family asking questions and stuff. So they questioned his motives. They said, you're used to working with beautiful women, and then Lifetime decides to show us some of his modeling pictures, you know, cue up the slow motion music. And they wonder if his intentions are really the right thing. And I told y'all in that very first review I did, just something about Zach just don't seem right. Like I said, I do believe at this point, Zach is probably in this just for the exposure. Now, one of the Married at First Sight fan pages, well, I guess pretty much the most popular Married at First Sight fan pages, was able to find out that 8 out of these 10 people did not even like willingly sign up for this show. They were recruited, as was Keith last year. So for me, that is taken away from, I believe, the whole purpose of the show, the genuineness of the show, to realize that out of all these hundreds of singles have come out to find out if they can get matched. And you trying to tell me that of hundreds of singles or thousands of singles that y'all couldn't find matches, y'all had to go out and find people to match with? That's a problem. That is another clear sign that this experiment doesn't work. But I believe it was said that Zach was recruited and that Mindy and Jessica were the only 2 that actually had signed up for the process, or like signed up for the show and went through the process and everything. But anyway, they questioned him, you know, because I think he is here for Instagram followers, and because everything he does just looks so perfect. You know what I mean? The way he looks at her like a fat kid looking at a piece of chocolate cake. He looks at her just like this. Like he's always smizing at her. And I'm like, I don't think that that's real. Nobody looks at anybody like that. You are doing this for the cameras. But we start to see that things are, the friend also says she will be concerned because she thinks Teeth might fall head over heels, which he already has. I mean, Teeth has fallen head over heels with at least his body, you know. I think Zach Hare is the first guy that looks like that Teeth has had a chance to really be up close and personal with. So she was like, you know, ready to bust the wide open before goon, as I say. But we start to see that Hare is going to treat her a little bit differently, because at one point Teeth is very self-conscious, and it's starting to show in this episode. She's very like in her head, and I can be too, so I get it. But the couples, like I said, all arrive together, and Teeth is like looking at these other couples like, oh, look at how they're interacting. Why aren't we interacting that way? Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with us? Should we be further? And she's starting to ask her these questions, and Harris just like, yo, pump the brakes, chill out. It's only a few days in. You know, people move at different paces, which is true. People can date for years and still not have that chemistry. People can meet instantly and have that chemistry. It just depends. So he's just trying to tell, like, you know, chill, go brush your teeth, you know, just, it's all right. But he was about to wash his face because, you know, that's a part of his beauty regimen. And she was trying to talk to him. He was like, are you really going to talk to me while I'm washing my face? And I was like, oh. Okay, Mindy. T. Do not interrupt a man when he is working on his facial regimen. Do not do that. Do not do that. Oh, okay. So, then fast forward. Oh, because she said that he's not treating her like a spouse. And so then we fast forward to later in the episode, and Teeth is just like wandering the halls of the Westin in Panama. I love the Westin hotels. She's wandering the halls, and she has her little handy cam camera, and she's saying that Hare told her that he was not attracted to her, and what is she gonna do about it? And I don't necessarily know what that means. I don't know if that means like, are you gonna get on your knees? I don't know what that means. Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, there's nothing she can do unless you mean like, is she gonna go get a tan? She's gonna go get a tan, get some extensions, get some work done. But I thought that's what you pretty much said it's just what you had and you didn't want anymore. So she's just feeling really hurt and starting to believe that it was a bad idea. And, Teeth, I hate to tell you, but it was a bad idea. It was a bad idea, a real bad idea. I really feel like people who think that they want to sign up for the show, reach out to me. Reach out to me, because clearly y'all are watching this show and y'all are not seeing how all these other couples are doing, and y'all are feeling like, oh, it'll be different for me. Okay, y'all think it'd be different. MAFS's track record is what it is. It is what it is, and one day y'all gonna believe it. So, we'll see what happens with them next week. And then we move on to Mika, Eminem, and Michael. So she says he needs to undo her. Oh, there was a whole thing about what everybody getting undressed and all that kind of stuff, and it was real awkward. But Michael was like, no, I'm not undressing you. Michael, the way that he talks is very specific. Michael is very like, I'm going to let her take the lead on the wedding night. I'm not going to push her. It would be nice if we could consummate the marriage, but I'm not going to push her. I want to make sure that I'm being respectful and that I'm going at her time and that I'm not putting my values on her. That is how he talks. That is the cadence of his voice. So, he's like, no, I don't want to undress you. It's like that, but they didn't do it either. So she talks to his people, asks him what his intentions are, blah, 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 blah. We don't care. And they suggest to her not to push him too hard, because if she pushes too hard, he'll shut down. And she realizes that within herself, that's the kind of person that she is. She's from Baltimore. Can I do my Baltimore? I'm from Baltimore, and this is about to be offensive to people in Maryland. I'm from Baltimore, and sometimes I have a tendency to want to push people, but that may be my thing. Now, that probably don't sound nothing like Baltimore. I'm gonna have to work on that and come back to it. So he talks to her family. They ask him about his track record, if he ever cheated. He says yes, it was emotional, and that he was in a situation he shouldn't have been. I know about emotionally cheating. I made a video about it because I had emotionally cheated before. So when they meet up later, they kind of like debrief about what they talked to the family, but then we fast forward to them later on in the evening, and the music changes to the that's the dramatic music that they switch to. It's very like, what's about to happen? So she's having a conversation. That's Baltimore. She's having a conversation with him because she feels like he's a different guy on camera than he is off camera. You told me that if I don't have sex with you during the honeymoon, that you're not going to be in this marriage. And he's just like, no, I didn't say that. That's not what happened. So they're going back and forth because she feels like he's not being genuine, which he probably isn't. Half of them probably are not. When you know that there's a camera there, you're probably not going to say everything that you want to. And you may reserve a couple of things, because honestly speaking, if I was on Married at First Sight, I would make sure that I had certain conversations with whoever I was matched with off camera to be like, hey, so this was on my mind, but I didn't want to say it in front of the camera because I didn't want to like embarrass you, or I didn't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation. I think that that's a common courtesy that you should offer the other person. But there should be consistency in your character. And for Michael, it's not. So he's over it while they're trying to talk, because apparently this all happened on the plane ride down to Panama, that pretty much he gave her like an ultimatum as far as sex was concerned. So she's pissed and she's going off about it, and he is just denying saying all of it. And because it's not on camera, all we have is their words against the other. So who really knows? But I'll be inclined to believe that I don't see why Mika would make that up this soon into the experiment. So he apologized, and like I said, she asked him to admit it, and he says no. So he suggests they spend the night apart. He says something about, I'll go to the living room and you can go to the room, but later we see him go get a key and he gets his own room. So the episode is starting to pick up. The season's starting to pick up. You know, we'll see what happens. Y'all make sure that y'all let me know what y'all thought of the episode. And like I said, if you're gonna do a spoiler, any kind of post, put spoiler alert and hit the return key a whole bunch of times so that it populates the whole read more. That way people who want to see the spoiler can hit that, as opposed to just looking at my comments and seeing like, oh, Jack and Jill ain't together no more. So just keep that in mind. It's a friendly housekeeping rule. All right, so thank y'all so much for watching my Married at First Sight season 10 episode 4 review. Like I said, the P.O. box will be down in the description. My email is down in the description as well for those people who want to ask me questions or, you know, just want to say, hey, it's down there. So make sure you remember to rate, comment, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can be a part of the notification squad. And I will be talking to y'all later. Peace.